Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Dirks, and on behalf of ACRL and Choice, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Strategies and Enhancements for Interdisciplinary Research, which is sponsored by Elsevier. Today's discussion is one in a series of sponsored webinars from ACRL and Choice that addresses new ideas, developments, and products of interest to the academic library community. Free to users, these structured 60-minute live presentations provide the opportunity for interactive discussions of important new issues and developments in academic librarianship by librarians, vendors, authors, and other interested stakeholders. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few features of the webinar software. In the main area of the screen, you can follow along with the presentation materials. Along the right-hand side, you should see a Q&A panel and a chat panel. If you don't, you can click the buttons labeled Chat and Q&A in the upper right corner of the screen to activate the panels. Please use the Q&A panel to submit questions to our speakers. At the end of the presentation, we will take a few minutes to answer your questions, so please do send them in throughout. If you experience any technical issues, that's what the chat box is for, so please send me a chat and let me know, and I will troubleshoot that issue with you privately. Today, we are using the hashtag ACRLChoiceWebinars during and after the event, so if you have another screen handy, shout out to us. We're at @choice_reviews on Twitter. Also note that we're recording today's program, and everyone that registered will receive a follow-up email from ACRL and Choice with a link to the archive version. Our presenters today are Caitlin Beddoes and Dr. Elaine Reynolds. And right now, I will turn the floor over to you, Caitlin.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, my name is Caitlin Beddoes, and thank you for joining this webinar today. I'm a marketing manager at Elsevier, and I'll be discussing some of the new enhancements to make interdisciplinary research and learning easier. And we also have Elaine Reynolds on the webinar, who's an associate professor at Lafayette and also one of our development partners, and she's going to be sharing with us some of her experiences. So today we're going to be talking about strategies and enhancements for interdisciplinary research and learning. So when you're learning about a new subject area, where would you normally turn to? Well, obviously the internet. However, I'm sure you've all experienced the problem when you are looking for new information online, but you get so many results that you don't know where to start. And even once you find some information, you can't be sure whether you can trust the information or not. We're in an age of information overload. I mean, how many of you have felt like the people on the screen there? There are hundreds of results when searching a new subject, and it's hard to know even where to start. This challenge is especially true of the scientific world. Did you know, for example, that the number of published scientific papers has climbed by 8 to 9% each year over the past several decades? In the biomedical field alone, there are about 2 papers published per minute, which is obviously a huge amount. This information overload, coupled with already limited time capacity, your researchers and students make it an almost impossible task for scientists to keep up to date in their own field, let alone in the related interdisciplinary fields. Yet it's clearly a necessary part of their work. It is crucial that we as publishers solve this challenge and help guide scientists to relevant and trustworthy information at the right place and at the right time. At Elsevier, we're working to solve these issues, and you'll hear later from our development partner, Elaine, about her experiences using our solution to the challenges. But first, I just wanted to provide a quick background around our strategies and enhancements for facilitating interdisciplinary research and learning, and how you may be able to help your patrons and users when facing these problems. As the need for multidisciplinary research, scientific research accelerates, clearly scientists, engineers, and students often must read beyond their discipline to engage with today's most pressing questions. They're increasingly looking to perform interdisciplinary research, and having an understanding of a specialized single field is no longer enough. In our research at Elsevier, we've discovered that 44% of researchers look for articles outside their immediate field at least weekly. So this is clearly a huge amount of scientists. And what we've heard, and I'm sure you all have all heard from your scientists and users, is that they have difficulty in understanding terms in articles in a novel subject area, and that venturing into a new literature area can put even the most seasoned scientists out of depth and bog them down with unfamiliar concepts and terms. The primary point of interaction with scholarly material for scientists, as you'll know, is the level of the journal article. However, researchers and students clearly require definitions and overviews for concepts and terms found whilst reading journal articles outside their area of expertise. This need is present at every single scientific career level for various purposes in their end-user workflow. As we've heard from our customers, books can provide the overview of a topic that is needed to understand journal articles. As the quote on the screen says, journals are usually up-to-date, but they're very highly specific to a small area. But books can be more illuminating for the topic as a whole. Scientists clearly need to know about the current research, but obviously they need the foundational knowledge to understand that current research. Book content can obviously offer this comprehensive overview of the topic, and it often provides definition and a much broader understanding of the topic. And clearly, book and journal content are fundamentally interlinked and complementary. And for researchers and students to progress, they need to use these two content types simultaneously rather than separately. However, as you'll know, it's not easy for a user to access book content at their point of need whilst they're in the middle of reading a journal article. With the currently available systems, we've seen that users tend to fend for themselves in the information ecosystem when they come across an unknown term. They'll go to visit different sites, scroll through hundreds of results, and often must sift through multiple resources before finding the high quality and appropriate information they need. As they search, sort, and self-curate, time is clearly lost. This can obviously slow down projects, or even worse, questions can remain unanswered, and projects may be stalled or may be misdirected by a lack of information. So to address this challenge, we as publishers must take full advantage of the technology available and create novel and innovative ways to facilitate the co-usage of books and journals to improve the speed and efficiency of research and learning and help with this challenge. To respond to the increasing pressures scientists have, Elsevier has made new enhancements on ScienceDirect, creating what you can see on the screen, these new topic pages. Launching later this year, these new topic pages are completely free and are seamlessly hyperlinked from terms within the journal article on ScienceDirect. As you can see on the screen, these topic pages provide an overview of the subject. The content on the topic page is all foundational content taken from book chapters, offering the fundamental knowledge that researchers and students require and need to understand the more advanced journal articles. There are three main features of the topic page. The first of these is a short definition at the top. This is ideal for scientists that just want a quick understanding of the term and then want to go back to their journal reading. Built for the speed and efficiency, it will quickly orient the reader to the subject. Secondly, we have related terms. These are linked out to the other related topic pages. This increases the serendipity of research as the related topic pages highlight the interdisciplinary links across topics and provide potential new routes for investigation that may not have been previously known to the user. Thirdly, on the topic pages, there are longer excerpts taken from a variety of book sources for if the user wants to explore the topic further. This also exposes links and correlations between the disciplines as the excerpts are taken from different book sources. It uncovers and helps to identify new targets for investigation that would not have been discovered if using only one book source or searching through the Google resources. If the reader wants to dig deeper into the subject, then they can click through and get to the book chapter that the definition was taken from. Alternatively, as the topic page is opened into a new tab, the reader can go back to their journal article with a full understanding of the topic. Using the advanced technology and algorithms, these new topic pages can help guide your students and scientists to the relevant and trustworthy content they need at the right place and at the right time, as it's hyperlinked straight from the journal article. So as discussed at the beginning, the modern scientist can easily be overwhelmed with the amount of information they're inundated with. But these topic pages can save the scientist time by providing the relevant and trusted information at their point of need, and it avoids them from having to do the individual searches themselves. I'll now pass it over to Elaine Reynolds, who's been using the new enhancements in practice in her teaching of neuroscience classes at Lafayette.
Thank you, Caitlin. So I have been using these enhanced features at Lafayette. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about Lafayette and how I'm using these enhanced features in my class. Lafayette's a small liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. It's highly selective, and we have a small number of students, 2,400. We also have small class sizes relative to other colleges. And a lot of the things that we can do in these small classes is to facilitate our students' interaction with the primary literature. And students face these problems even more so than researchers at other levels. They really don't understand what sources may be good sources to use. They have more problems in understanding the terminology that might exist in primary literature papers or review papers. And so I really thought that this enhanced feature could really help my students' learning. So the two classes that I've integrated these enhanced features are a 200-level neurobiology class. This is pretty much a lecture-style class, although I do tend to flip the class a bit. There's also a laboratory with this class. And the main outcome I'm focusing on in the class is that students should be able to demonstrate that they can read and understand original research. They do this in terms of reading papers in the classroom and discussing them. They also use the literature to support a research project that is about half the semester in the laboratory. This is a 200-level course. Neurobiology is somewhat of an interdisciplinary field. However, with the 300-level class, aging and age-related disease is really very interdisciplinary. We cover topics that in this class that range from sort of the molecular basis of aging all the way through age-related disease and even some social issues in aging. And so I think in particular these enhanced features are great for this classroom. This is a 300-level seminar-style course. So for the most part, what we're doing in this class is reading review articles, primary literature articles, and the students are developing the skill sets. And again, we've got two outcomes I'm trying to meet here. One is to identify and employ a range of strategy for discovering information, and again, to be able to critically read, analyze, and integrate different types of scientific literature. So really, in moving from the 200 to the 300 level, what we're trying to accomplish is, first of all, being able to read and understand, and then be able to critically analyze. So I talk a little bit about implementation of this. This was a feature of my class before I started engaging with these enhanced features with Elsevier. In order for my students to use these tools, however, students had to be given special accounts and passwords that would allow them to access articles with the enhanced features. And then we posted links to the articles up on our Moodle Classroom site, and then students could click on the link and then gain access to these articles that had the hyperlinks that led to the supplemental information. Specifically, we're also teaching in the aging classroom web-based literature skills, and we use 3 different web assignments to consolidate this skill set before students develop a set of papers which they write their own review article on a specific field within aging. And what we wanted them to do is to introduce them to the web-based literature search tools that are available through Elsevier and other journals. And so they use the ScienceDirect engine to be able to then find articles that they could use in their review paper project that, again, they would have this enhanced feature available to them. So in order to kind of assess how this was working in my classroom, we did this the first time in the fall semester, and so we developed a set of pre and post Qualtrics survey tools. I was working with a librarian to implement and to develop this, survey, and so we wanted to have questions in the survey that looked at initial comfort level and whether that was improved in terms of reading the primary literature, how students deal with unknown specific terms, to understand the tool set that students were already familiar with, and also finally to get some demographic information on the students. And so I'm just gonna, this is preliminary data from the fall semester. We are continuing with this in the spring semester here in my aging class. But just kind of get an idea, a preliminary idea of what some of this data looks like. So I'm going to share some slides with you that talk about this. So one of the questions we wanted to know is how often do they come up with questions, or how often do they come across terms that they don't really understand? And the data, the initial data we got supports that frequently, often, students are coming up against these terms. And the question really is, without the Elsevier tool, how did they manage this? And really, the answer was that most of the times they Googled it, okay? Now, what we have seen with this course, and in terms of both just the practice of reading primary literature, and then I'm hoping we can sort out how much the enhanced features contributed to this, we definitely see an improvement in the comfort level of the students in reading the primary literature. And we also saw this in parallel data with reading review articles. So students went to predominantly either moderately comfortable or extremely comfortable through these courses. So we wanted to see what tools they were using as well. What do they use to find literature articles in particular? And we didn't really see much of a shift here, just a little bit of a shift. This is data from about 24, 25 students. We'll be adding to this data set as we go along here. But I'm really hoping that we see a shift in the tools as we go along. Predominantly, the students seem to most frequently use Google Scholar to try to find relevant literature articles. But, you know, we're seeing changes in the class specifically. These are the tools that I'm teaching, so I kind of wanted to see how the students were using it before and after this trial. One of the things that's very encouraging is that students use the Enhanced Features tool. So we asked whether they, in engaging with the reference material, did you know, always use the tool, most of the time use the tool, half the time use the tool. And, you know, it's not so much that students were always reading the material linked to the word that they clicked on, but most of the time they were using the tool to enhance their understanding of it. And you can see that, did the reference material provide improved understanding? Significant numbers of students picked always, most of the time, and about half the time. So the students did find this tool useful in understanding the terms. So I just pulled a couple of quotes because I left an opportunity for students to respond to what they thought was the best part of these enhanced features. students thought it was helpful. Pretty much, you know, what we would hope for with this tool, that made the articles clearer, that provided an easy way to gain understanding about the article and the terms, didn't have to waste time looking up the information elsewhere. I got a few responses like the one that I have a little lower. I prefer to read printed out articles, not online articles. So still have a few holdouts of students who are printing out their articles to read them. That's a particular problem here at Lafayette because they print them out in black and white, and I'm trying to encourage the students to use computers to look at, you know, figures in papers, because most of those figures have colored information. So, but I still got a number of responses like that they didn't really use the links because they like to print out articles. For the most part, however, I believe that the enhanced features are meeting my expectations, that they are improving student understanding of the papers and the terms within the papers. And I'm eager to add additional information from this semester. I feel like this semester's gone a little smoother because we sort of knew what we were doing from last semester, you know, and had all the links in place ahead of time and things like that this semester. So it'll be interesting to see how, you know, this class turns out and whether we get the same results or even better results. So I'm going to pass it back to Caitlin now.
Thank you, Elaine. So thank you for sharing your experiences with us in the webinar today, Elaine. So just to sum up, as we've discussed, the modern scientists can obviously be easily overwhelmed with the amount of information they're inundated with. And it's obviously crucial for researchers and students to have the foundational knowledge of a topic when in a novel subject area and looking at new journal research. So these new topic pages can really provide the fundamental information required to understand the journal article and ultimately to save your users time by providing the relevant and trusted information both at the right place and also at the right time.
All right, great. This is Mark from ACRL in Choice. I'm going to jump in here because I think we have plenty of time to field questions from the audience. So if you could take a few moments and type in some questions to us in the Q&A panel, we'd be very happy to field those. We do have a few that have already come in, so we'll jump right into those. It looks like the first question that we've got is from Tracy, and Tracy asks, is it possible to search just the topic pages as a starting point? Tracy points out they have ScienceDirect College Edition at their institution, and that she sees the book or journal content types in the search box. So is it possible to search the topic pages?
Yeah, well, so it is possible to have the topic pages as a starting point. So they are indexed on Google. So if you search for, say, the amygdala, and it will come up as a search result, and you can click straight through to the topic page or click through on ScienceDirect, and they're completely free. What you can also do is the link at the top, so the URL hyperlink, you can it says, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's something like sciencedirect.com/topic and then / and then you can type in the term you want to search for, so amygdala, and find it that way. We don't have it currently at the moment if you can search it straight on ScienceDirect rather than just book or journal content, but that's something for us definitely to think about because it would be useful, clearly.
Great, thank you. We've got another question here from Melissa, and this is about the topic pages as well. Melissa asks, are the topic pages static, or do they get updated as new information comes in?
Yep, good question. So they will be updated as new content publishes on ScienceDirect, so as we publish new books. The topic pages will be updated with the latest content, so you can be sure that your users and your patrons are accessing the most relevant content to their research.
Great, thank you. So we have another question here from Carol, and this may be an unanswerable question, but I figured we would throw it out there anyway and see what we've got. Carol asks, how many topic pages will there be in total?
Yep, so what we're looking at is for launch, we're launching this throughout this year, and in April time we're launching this in neuroscience, biomedical sciences, and life sciences. So currently it's live in neuroscience, but as a pilot, so it's as a prototype, and that's how Elaine's been using it. So what we're looking at for launch in April in those 3 subject areas is around 50,000 topic pages, and they'll be linking from around 8,000 journals. So obviously a huge amount of content there and a huge amount of topic pages. But then later in the year, we're going to be expanding it out into other subject areas, so chemistry, chemical engineering, earth and environmental sciences. So that will all be expanding out later in the year. But for launch, we're looking at around 50,000 topic pages.
Wow, that is a substantial number. So we have, and you may have just mentioned this, but we have a question from Jeanette that says, when will this be available to others? You mentioned that it was a pilot that Elaine had access to. And is that April or when?
Yes. So it is actually live at the moment with about 215 of our neuroscience journals on ScienceDirect. So you can access them at the moment in those few journals, but it will be live to everyone to access and across a lot wider at the end of April.
Great. We have another question here from Melissa, and Melissa asks, does it show where the definition comes from for the terms that are being defined, or a corollary to that might be, where are the definitions coming from?
Yes. So all of the definitions are taken from our book content, and I'll just scroll back in these slides here. What we've done is put in a lot of machine learning and using smart technology, sorry, I've scrolled too much now, to take the most relevant definitions from our book content. And if I just get to the right page here, you can see at the top there, it says cell membrane and then has the short definition. And then after that in blue, it has the book that it's taken from. So you can see that it's from the Atlas of Oral Microbiology in 2015. And you can see below with the longer excerpts that you can see the first one on the left there is taken from the reference module Environmental Sciences 2014, and then the next one is taken from another book. So you can see where all the definitions are taken from, and also you can click through if you want to get to that part in that book chapter as well.
That's great, so that you can get additional context on the term, or that's very useful.
Exactly.
And we have a question here from Carol for Elaine, she says, and Carol asks, do you see this becoming a permanent use for the classroom or for other courses that you teach?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if I had to be the presenter to answer. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have primary literature in almost all of my courses, and this, I think, would be a useful tool for all of my courses. The question is will my, library subscribe to Elsevier, the level where we will get this link as part of our normal access? And I think that's kind of where our question will become. Another piece of data I'm analyzing to try to sort of make this determination is in neurobiology, I had papers that had the Elsevier links and papers that did not. And I look at student learning through quizzes in that class. And so I haven't sat down with this data because it's a data set of about 30 students. But I want to see if they really do show improvements. I've looked before, and they show improvements as the semester goes on. So I'm going to have to do some careful analysis of that data. But I do believe that my students are using these features and that their learning is improving from it. My class last fall in aging was one of the best classes in terms of putting together the reviews, in terms of doing an analysis of a single paper. They did very well, and so I don't know if that was just the particular combination of students or whether, this particular tool set really helped them improve their understanding. So I think it's a little early, but I'm going to look at the data I've collected so far and make a determination.
That's very interesting. And we have another question here for you, I believe, Elaine, though if you have some insight onto this or something to add, Caitlin, please feel free to jump in. The question that we have here is from Jeanette, and Jeanette asks, did the students want to see the links, I assume, to the terms and definitions and things like that in other places that they search? Did you see any evidence of that or anything similar to that in the data that you collected on the student usage?
Yeah, I would say that the students liked the links. I mean, part of the problem when they do, Google searches based on terms that they don't understand is they may get more material that they don't understand. And if they go to Wikipedia, they all are quite aware that that may not be the most accurate information, especially, when they're trying to apply it to something very specialized. So I think that my impression is that they really do like these links and would like to see it throughout articles. A couple of the students noticed there were other types of links in other articles, like links down into the reference list. And, why isn't there, definition links? And I said, well, we're just, that article doesn't have that feature. So I think that, yeah, they saw this as a real utility.
Great. That's very interesting. We've got a few more questions here, and I would encourage folks, if they have additional questions for either Caitlin or Elaine, to drop them into the Q&A box. We have a question here from Rebecca that asks, how can you address when a researcher is unaware that a term has a different use in a different field? And she mentioned this comes up when collaborating with faculty in another discipline, so that there's maybe a shared term with different definitions in each discipline. Do you have any ways that you address that, either in the literature or in working with researchers?
Yeah, so within the topic page, so those longer excerpts that you can see on the screen in part 3 there, there's around 6 to 10 longer excerpts in that. And all of those excerpts are taken from different books. For example, you can see on the screen here where the overall topic is about the cell membrane. And then you can see on the right-hand side, this is an excerpt around oral microbes. And then on the left, it's to do with another part of science. So it's because you have the longer excerpts, they'll explain how a term is used within different fields, basically.
That's very useful.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and so that we're using smart technology to make sure that, yeah, we're pulling all of the relevant excerpts from the different disciplines to help with this. Just
a comment as a person, I primarily my role here at Lafayette is teaching, but I'm also very active in several research fields. So I do research in basic neuroscience, in computational neuroscience, and I'm also a practicing artist. I teach an art neuroscience course, for example. And this issue of different terms meaning different things across fields is absolutely huge in interdisciplinary work. But what I think is that having these descriptions, these very carefully constructed descriptions and definitions of terms would help, because so many times, you know, when I'm trying to describe something to someone outside my field, you know, I know what the word means, but, you know, I forget different components of it. Being able to have a collaborator who's trying to read a paper in my field be able to click into the link of it and we could have a discussion across that, I think would be very helpful.
Great. That's very interesting to hear from the perspective of actually working interdisciplinarily, and yeah, that's fascinating. We have another question here from Louise, who simply asks, can you repeat the subject areas that will be covered in the first launch?
Yep, sure. So in the first launch in April time, it's going to be biomedical sciences, neuroscience, and life sciences. And then throughout later in the year, it will extend out to our other subject collections.
Great. And we have a question that it looks like it came in through the chat up here from Kelly. And Kelly mentions that one feature I frequently refer my students to is the recommended articles tab on the article page. Is there any plan to expand the recommended articles feature with recommended topic pages or something similar to that in the future?
As far as, I'm not entirely sure. As far as I'm aware, no, but that's a very good point that I'll take back to the product team to look into.
Great. Thank you for addressing that question. All right. And if folks have additional questions, I would say now would be a great time to drop them into the Q&A box. And we'll give you just a moment or two to do that. We have one that came through from Natalie that asks simply, has Elsevier considered linking the topic pages to existing content from other providers? Or is this all in Elsevier content?
Currently, this is all Elsevier content that we're providing. So currently, not at the moment, no. It will just be contained within ScienceDirect as we have to sort out agreements with companies from outside of Elsevier. So currently, it's just within Elsevier at the moment.
That makes sense. And we have a question here from Kelly that sort of is looking back at older articles, and Kelly asks, will these features be available for all of the articles that are available in ScienceDirect, or are they targeted specifically at new articles or recent articles? How far back does the linking of terms and things like that go back?
Yeah, a good question. So what we're doing is make sure we're updating the most recent articles, but it will be all articles within all domains that are active on ScienceDirect.
Great, great. And we have a question here about the slide presentation, and I don't know if we will necessarily have the slide presentation to send out. We may be able to get that to put up on a web page somewhere if that is the case in the future, but certainly we will be distributing a link to the recording of the presentation. So if anyone here or anyone else that has signed up for the webinar would like to take a look at any of these pages or at any of the information contained here, we will send out a link to that in about 24 hours. All right, and it looks like we've gotten through all the questions that have come in. If there are any others, please feel free to drop them in the box. But if not, and I don't see any additional questions dropping in right now, so I'll take this moment to say thank you, Caitlin, and thank you, Dr. Reynolds, for taking some time to share all of this information for us. It's been very interesting. I'd like to take a moment to give you a virtual round of applause. So thank you. And I will remind everyone.
I was going to say thank you everyone for listening.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to Elsevier for allowing me to pilot this in my classes, and thanks for everybody for listening.
All right. Thanks, and thank you from ACRL and Choice for joining us today. I hope everyone out there has enjoyed the session, and I hope everyone has an excellent afternoon. Bye-bye.